It was gray. Wolf gray, the brochure called it. It sat in the driveway like a promise. Heavy doors, leather that smelled like success, a dashboard glowing with the soft blue of a cockpit. To the neighbors, the car said Michael was doing well. It said he was a senior project manager. It said he earned $85,000 a year. It said he was safe. But to Michael, it would become the single decision that cost him more than any mistake he'd ever made. Michael Reynolds was 34. He lived just outside Denver, the kind of place where the commute is a ritual. Same on-ramp, same traffic, same 10 minutes of bargaining with yourself before the day starts. He earned $85,000 a year. In 1990, that salary would have made him wealthy. In 2024, it made him fine. Just fine. He drove a 2014 sedan. It ran perfectly. But every morning, pulling into the parking garage at his firm, he felt it. The quiet shame of the dented bumper. The way his boss's Tesla gleamed next to his associate's BMW. Michael didn't know the term for what he was feeling. He just knew the car had become a resume you parked. In that garage, nobody asked your salary. They read your hood. They read your headlights. They read the silence when you stepped out. Michael wasn't trying to be flashy. He was trying to be professional. As a trusted product lead at Vertex Systems, a reputable mid-sized SaaS firm in downtown Denver, image felt like part of the job. So he told himself the story we all tell. I spend 2 hours a day in my car. It needs to be safe, it needs to be reliable, it needs to be presentable. I meet clients. So he went to the dealership. He didn't look at the total price, $68,000. He looked at the monthly number. The car was a gray 2021 BMW X5, metallic paint, premium package, tinted glass, leather stitched so clean it felt deliberate. The dealer offered him an 84-month term, 7 years, at 7.2% interest, a payment of $1,218. Michael did the math in his head. $85,000 a year is roughly $5,200 a month after taxes and 401k. $1,200 was high, but manageable. He had $4,000 left for rent, food, life. He signed. He felt good. He felt like he had finally arrived. Michael liked to think this was a personal decision, a one-time indulgence, a private risk. But zoom out for a moment. This isn't really about a car. It's about how modern systems sell comfort while quietly removing margin for error. Because somewhere far from his driveway, this exact moment was being repeated by someone just like him, a professional, a planner, a careful adult, signing contracts built around the same illusion, a manageable monthly number. Not because they were reckless, but because loan terms had quietly stretched longer, 6 years, 7, sometimes more. The payments looked reasonable. The total cost disappeared into the fine print. Michael didn't know those numbers. He didn't need to. All he knew was that the car fit his payment, and that felt responsible. The first year was quiet. The car was beautiful. The heated seats worked. The sound system was incredible. But the math was happening in the background, like a slow water leak behind a wall. Michael's insurance premium arrived. Because it was a luxury SUV in a metro area, his rate jumped to $240 a month. Gas was more expensive than his sedan. Premium fuel, $300 a month. Maintenance, the big tires, the synthetic oil. $1,218 for the loan, $240 for insurance, $300 for gas, $50 for washes and parking. Total $1,808 per month. That's $21,696 a year. Michael was spending 35% of his take-home pay on a machine that sat parked for 22 hours a day. He stopped going out to lunch, canceled Netflix, told his friends he was focusing on work. But he kept the car, because the car was the identity. To sell it would be to admit he wasn't who he said he was. The car stopped feeling like freedom. It started feeling like a test. Every month, Michael opened his banking app the same way, slowly, as if moving too fast might make the number worse. The payment hit, $1,218. He waited for the panic that never fully arrived. Instead, there was a quiet tightening in his chest, a calculation, a negotiation with himself. He began timing his grocery trips, skipping small luxuries without admitting they were luxuries, telling himself this was discipline, not sacrifice. One night, he sat in the driver's seat long after getting home. The cabin lights dimmed, the dashboard glowed. The leather still smelled like confidence. He imagined selling it. The image felt wrong, not financially, personally. Selling the car meant explaining. It meant downgrading. It meant showing people a version of himself he wasn't ready to admit was real. But for the first time, the idea felt less like failure and more like survival. He started doing the math he'd been avoiding. How long could he realistically keep this going? The car felt like the only thing in his life that still looked successful. And somehow, that made it harder to let go, not easier. He checked resale values, closed the tab. He had $2,000 in savings. That was it. The invisible leak of the car had drained his ability to build a buffer. Selling it wouldn't free him, it would humiliate him and still leave him owing money. That weekend, he drove to CarMax. They ran the numbers. "We can offer you $48,000, they said. Michael looked at his loan app. Payoff amount? $59,000. He was $11,000 underwater, negative equity. He couldn't sell the car unless he wrote a check for $11,000, a check he didn't have. He was trapped in the luxury. He had to keep driving the thing that was killing him because he couldn't afford to get rid of it. It happened 4 months later. He didn't fight. He watched from the window, behind the blinds. There is a specific shame in watching your status symbol be dragged away by a stranger in the middle of the night. The tow truck driver didn't care about Michael's job title. He didn't care about the leather seats or the wolf gray paint. He just cared about the asset. Michael still owes the money, by the way. The bank will auction the SUV for $45,000. They will pursue him for the remaining $14,000 balance. He will be paying for the wolf gray SUV for the next 5 years, long after he stopped driving it. He needed a car to get to work, so he went back to the dealership. Quieter this time. No premium package, no leather. They rolled the old debt into a used sedan, a 5-year-old Toyota Camry. Reliable, unimpressive, affordable. Michael never defaulted, never declared bankruptcy, never missed a payment. He followed the rules, He paid on time. He stayed responsible. And he still lost years to a decision that felt harmless. Sometimes he stops at a red light and a BMW X5 pulls up beside him. For a moment, he remembers the silence, the leather, the feeling that he had made it. Then, the light turns green, and he drives home. Not ruined, not wealthy, just older, wiser, and still paying for a version of himself he once rented. Auto loans don't care how hard you work. They don't care how stable your job feels. They don't care how responsible you are. They care about terms, interest, and time. And once the signature hits the page, the outcome stops being personal. It becomes mathematical. Because in this system, the real danger isn't losing money suddenly. It's agreeing to lose it, quietly, predictably, every month.